Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And today is our Dolmenwood AD&D Old School Essentials rule set campaign update. As always, if you are not caught up on the campaign, I have an entire playlist. You can go back, start as far back as you need to go, and get yourself caught up, which will bring us up to this particular update, which was last Friday. We usually play on Fridays, and I try to do the update by Monday. Generally, I almost always do it on Monday. So here we go. So when we last left off, our group of adventurers, one of which I am, Jonathan is the DM. We were all in a town called Prigwort, which is in the Dolmenwood, which is the larger city. And we had done a whole bunch of town errands and things that we had to do. We had geared up. We had gotten stuff repaired. We had gotten new gear. We had bought supplies. We had heard a bunch of rumors, which are leading us on different adventures and tasks and quests and all that. And we had decided we were going to head off to attempt a rescue of a child that had been taken by away from Lady Horrorwood, and she is like the noble of the area, where my character Zvi, who was at one time in the military as a guard, served under her to protect her area and so forth. So my character actually knows the area fairly well. So from his military experience. So we head off after some discussion, and we head in the area that we know that there's this ruined abbey, which is where it is believed that perhaps the child would be found. So we head off in that direction, and at some point we come across we come across a child out in the woods all by themselves, a little boy. And so our group, we go up, and we have a friar with us who is basically our cleric. And the cleric basically starts questioning the child, saying, "Hey, what are you doing out here all by yourself? Where are your parents?" and all that. And the kid seems somewhat confused. And it doesn't take long to realize that the child is somehow being manipulated. The child is under some kind of charm, being charmed, or some type of ensorcelry that is, mind control, whatever, hypnotized, something. So there's some discussion, and we start having a discussion about, okay, what are we going to do with this child? He's telling us about this friend he has called Rag and Bone, is the guy. He calls this guy, his friend, Rag and Bone is the guy's name. And he says that he has to collect, the kid says, I have to collect teeth for Rag and Bone. It's a game. Whoever brings him the most teeth wins the game. So we're like, say what? This is weird. I mean, even in D&D terms, this is fucking weird. So while we're discussing it and everything, the kid takes off. And we decide, okay, well, we better try and get the kid and either get him uncharmed or something, or have him take us to this Rag and Bone dude and see if we can investigate or whatever. But the kid has took off on us. So now we're in pursuit. And at one point, and the kid's quick. I think my character Zvi said to the magic user, can't you put him to sleep? Because my character has seen the magic user use a sleep spell before, several times. So the magic user says, yeah, and so he casts sleep on the kid, and it works, and the kid goes to sleep. and then the friar is able to go over and cast dispel evil on the child, and he comes out of his um whatever, his charm, he's back to his normal mental state. He's no longer being controlled, and he starts crying and he wants to go home and all this. And at some point here, right after that, all these crows start showing up all around us, and very quickly it becomes overwhelming. Like, there are all of a sudden hundreds of crows, and they're not necessarily attacking us, but there's such a huge swarm of them that they're banging into us, and they're to the point where we can't see, we can't move. We're just constantly trying to fight these things off, and they're banging it. They're just completely incapacitating this enormous swarm of crows. And then at some point they all zip away along with the child up into the trees, and the crows themselves form into this guy, Rag and Bone. They basically turn, all those crows come together and form up to him in the tree with the child now. And he says, thank you for returning the child, or whatever, and some other creepy shit that I can't really remember. And then he disappears. So now now we have seen this Rag and Bone dude, and he has taken the child, and poof, off he went. And we also know that he can turn himself into a gigantic murderer of crows. For those that don't know, that is the correct term for a group of crows, is called a murder. So he's able to shapeshift. So we decide, okay, we better continue heading off to this abbey, because the kid had told us at one point that was where he was going to see Rag and Bone, to take him some teeth or whatever, try and find him some teeth. So all the clues are leading to that old ruined abbey. So we head off, a little bit shook from this whole encounter and everything, and it's basically up on a plateau that we have to climb up to, and the way to describe it best would be like Weathertop from Lord of the Rings. Kind of like Weathertop was basically the plateau, flat area, but it's a bigger area, and we have to climb to get up there. And it's because it's like January, the equivalent of our January in the game world. So there's snow and ice everywhere. So for us to climb up there, the DM says we have to do skill checks, or skill challenge, he calls it. And this is a mechanic that in first and second edition I never used, because it's not really in first or second edition. I have seen it before. I've seen it used in Pathfinder, and I have seen this particular DM, Jonathan, use it before. I like skill challenge. I like the mechanic. Basically, it says that you have to, through role playing, you have to explain what your character is doing in an effort to not fall off the fucking side of the mountain, off the side of the hill or whatever, because you're on ice and shit and you're slipping all over the place and everything. And so I described that that Zwei carries a hand axe on his hip, on his belt. He's using his hand axe basically as like a pick to dig into the ice and keep from falling and everything. And then the other characters had to describe what they were doing to try and keep from falling and so forth. And we make successful checks and all that. And then right when we're getting towards the top, there is a bunch of those crows show up again, and they start basically picking at the top of the earth above us, of the ground above us and everything, to cause stuff to fall, debris to fall down on us. And we had to do another check, a final check, to make sure that we got past that. And we made our checks successfully. No one fell and all that. And then we we get up there, and then so now we're on like a path or whatever, and we've managed to make it up to where we're no longer really in danger of falling off or whatnot. And then on the path, there's a big ass like troll creature thing that shows up, and he basically yells out to, and he says, you cannot pass here without paying the troll toll. And he's a troll, like a stone troll. He looks like he's made out of stone. And so we start parlaying with this thing, and we can tell he's stupid because of how he's talking. He's a very simple troll. I don't know if there's any trolls that aren't simple, but he is very simple. And so we're asking him, what do you mean by the? And he wants metal. He says, I require metal for the toll. And we're thinking, what do you mean by metal? And he's like, your armor, your swords, metal. I eat, and apparently he eats metal. And we're thinking, well, fuck that. We're not giving him our weapons and armor and shit, And so Randy Midnight, the other fighter, played by Brad, he says, well, what about coins? And the troll says, well, what kind of coins? Gold. He says, I like gold. And so we, amongst ourselves, we're like, okay, well, what do we do? We just give him a bunch of gold. We got a shit ton of gold. Coins, we're carrying around a whole bunch of them from our last haul. And Randy says, name your price or whatever. And the troll looks kind of surprised that we're even offering to give up gold. And he just throws out 100 gold per person to pass or something like that. And so we give up the gold. We're just like, all right. And then I think our magic user went invisible. Our magic user had invisibility or something like that. So he was able to pass without being seen. And maybe even our Grimalkin, our cat lady played by Stesha, she might have been able to sneak past using stealth, if I remember correctly. Because two of them didn't want to pay the gold, but they were able to get past. And then the rest of us paid our gold. And the troll was like, seemed kind of caught off guard, like, okay, yeah. I don't think he really expected us to give him gold. And we did, because it's like, well, we could try and fight him. And maybe that's what the DM expected. But we're thinking, we're carrying, thousands of gold pieces. And we're talking about 200 or 300 here or whatever. To get past this guy without possibly getting, picked up and thrown over the side or killed or, by him smashing us or whatever. It's like risk versus reward type of a thing. And it's like, well, we can afford it because our goal is to get up to the very top of the plateau through this pass here, and then finish our quest, because we'll get rewarded, we hope, and everything, which will be a lot more than maybe 300 gold that we paid for the troll. So he takes it and he lets us pass. So we make it up to, and now we're at this ruined abbey precipice plateau area that has a ruined abbey. It's got an old well. It's got a bunch of different outbuildings and things like that, and it's real fucking spooky looking, the way the DM described it to us and everything. It's all in disrepair. It's all dilapidated. And it doesn't, it looks like if there's a place where undead are gonna like reside, this is the place, that type of thing, and that's where we ended for the night. So we made it all the way through the encounter with Rag and Bone and the kid, and then the challenges to climb up, and the troll and all that. We did all of that, and we made it to, and so our next session will be exploring this abbey and trying to find the missing girl or whatever. So we made the assumption that this Rag and Bone dude, if he has this boy, his kid, he might have the girl too. He might have the kidnapped girl and whatnot too. So we are going to have to, we're hoping this is the area where we'll find him. It'll be a boss fight, obviously, with him and whatever else we encounter here. So That is where we're at in this campaign. But that was a lot of fun because we haven't really been encountering regular monsters that you would think of like in first and second edition D&D. We're finding some oddball stuff, which is cool because that's new for me. It's not rehash. It's not stuff I've done before. So, this rag and bone dude is, you know, I mean that whole idea of him collecting teeth. He's like the evil tooth fairy. That's that's whack. So, um, anyway, that's it for the campaign update. Next, my video just there was some kind of a little pause thing there or something there. So that'll probably come through. So I don't know what happened there. It keeps on locking up here. So that'll do it for this edition, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.